turn it off, but I haven't quite done that yet. And
We're live,
so,
baby. It's a freaky fractious Friday.
yes, we
And
are live, Michael, live and in living color.
I
Isn't that a
forgot to say
beautiful thing?
farewell to Thursday. We were going to say goodbye. We were going to have a long farewell, and I just forgot about it. And now it's Friday, and it's too late. Thursday's gone.
We'll say goodbye. Wave Thursday goodbye. All right, say hello to Friday.
Friday, you've been fabulous so far. Thank you for being here. I want to invite 400 comedians over to the Pope's house this afternoon. He said it'd be okay. You can't miss it when you're driving by the neighborhood. You say, I bet the Pope would live there. That looks like a nice spot for him.
Well, how many addresses are in the Vatican City? I mean, it's got to be the best place in the world to be a postman.
Do they
You
have
know,
numbers? Is it like P1?
well, there's only, I think, what is it? It's just the courtyard. There's like about 3 or 4 buildings around it. I saw a place I've always hoped to go, but haven't gotten there yet.
What's that?
But what?
Now, Vatican City, you want to go there?
Oh yeah, no, I definitely want to go. First of all, I want to go to a country that I can walk the length of. Um,
You could try Luxembourg.
I don't think it's bigger than.
It is bigger.
I mean, I think the Vatican City is the smallest country in the world, isn't it? Because it's only that part around the buildings, right? I mean,
Yeah.
once you get to the end of the buildings, you get to the end of the Vatican City, I think,
And you're in Italy all of a sudden.
and you're back in Italy. I mean, but for that, but I think it'd be kind of cool to, yeah, I definitely want to go there. I think it'd be awesome to go and so I mean, I want to go to Italy too, but
One thing about the Vatican, I have been there. And what I remember most is that when you walk around the interior of St. Peter's, you come to all these little alcoves, and they all have altars in them. Altar for this and altar for that, alcove for this guy, altar for that guy. You'd be surprised how many dead bodies there are, skeletons wearing their vestments, buried in the front, the glass front altar. They just they went overboard on that. I don't think they do it anymore. But the guys that are in there are grandfathered in. They can't take them out. What happened to Bill? And we got tired of looking at his skeleton. We decided to go with something different. It's going to be a food court now. You can get chicken. You can get chicken tenders. But
except on Friday, only
what
fish
can
on
you get
Friday.
on fish sticks? There you go, Mrs. Paul's fish sticks. St. Paul's fish sticks.
St. Paul. Well,
We
you
got
know what? St. Peter might get upset about that too. So maybe you'd
you
have to
know
go with St. Peter and St. Paul's.
the funny thing about Peter is he's always upset about something. He was a very fragile character. He was always going flying off the handle, and it's because of him that all those other guys died, were put in their vestments, and their skeletons are now on the altar.
Well, I mean, he got the basilica named after him. So why would he be upset if Paul gets the fish sticks named after him? It could be
It was the curly cute.
Mrs. St. Paul's fish sticks at St. Peter's Basilica.
He complained about the twisty pillars.
Well, that's like Colfax and Pullman. I mean, when you really start to get down to it, the
There you
whole
go.
world is like Colfax and Pullman.
Yes.
One's going to be mad that the other got, the people in Pullman are mad that Colfax got to jail, and the people in Colfax are mad that Pullman got to college. So
See,
between the two,
and they're never going to get over that.
it's a generational thing.
You could take Colfax, you could take Pullman, bury them in an altar, let them be in their skeletons and their vestments, and have a whole alcove, and they wouldn't be happy.
And I mean, yeah, I think generations of Colfaxians, I guess is what you would call them, right? Colfaxers. Um,
Colfaxarians.
yeah, well, yeah, you probably have a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they're just not going to be. They're not going to be happy unless they move the university to Colfax, and I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't. I think.
Did the Palouse lose its magic because it turned into such an angry reactionary place?
No, I don't. I don't think so. I drive out there, and I find new stuff to see out there all the time.
Like
Uh,
the Washtuckna drive-through, they have a drive-through car wash now.
do they? I didn't know that. Um, well, the Washtuckna place has been turned into like a convenience store. And to be honest with you, I haven't stopped in there. any of the times I've been out there, because also what I do is I go different routes when I go out to Washington State. I don't just take 90 out to 16 and then, right out 16. Sometimes I go out to Royal City and drop down. Sometimes I go out to what's the place I'm looking for where the Zips Drive-In is? Right on the tip of my tongue. But I take different routes to get out there, and so it allows me to see things that I haven't seen before. And I mean, there's an awful lot of amber waves of lentils and stuff like that. But there's also there's beautiful waterfalls. There's this kind of divide out there that I don't know what you would call it, maybe a continental shelf or something like that, where one part for miles and miles and miles, one part's all the way up here, the other part is all the way down here. And
never the twain shall meet.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they meet somewhere. I haven't driven to the somewhere.
The Twain. You have to go to the Twain.
Or the Twain, yeah. And actually, it's funny because there is a train that does go along along the split.
Anybody out there buried in their vestments in an altar front with a glass?
I would think there's some holes in the desert or holes in the Palouse.
Because what I'm worried about is it's all very nice and clean with the skeleton presented in with the bishop's hat and the clothes and all the regalia, but you have to get to the skeleton part before you can dress him up like that. You can't put him in there partially destroyed. And I just wonder, where's the middle ground? Where's the place where they let the skeleton seek its own?
Well, why couldn't you put them in there in their vestments? I mean, they would deteriorate, and the only thing you'd have left is the skeleton. Everything else,
I think every couple hundred years they probably have to give him a new suit as it gets old, as it's under the lights and under the scrutiny.
That's well, I don't think that. I just think they take the body. Probably in those days they didn't even embalm it. They just put it in the vestment, put it where they put it, and let the bugs have at it, man. It's big meal for the maggots.
And then when the bugs are done, then they put it on display when it's a clean skeleton.
I don't know. I wasn't there, and I haven't read about it. It's certainly an advertisement for cremation, though.
Well, everyone can Google skeletons on display at St. Peter's Basilica.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, I don't know about that. If you wanna, you certainly have gone in a freaky direction for Friday. I don't know. It kind of. The older I get, the more that kind of talk creeps me out. Although I got to tell you that there's a church in Pittsburgh. There's and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they're in downtown, really, just across the river from downtown in Pittsburgh. And their thing is they have icons from all of these different saints and stuff. They've collected them over the years, and so the whole inside of the church is like, Saint Anne of Dunedin's left femur, or they have like actual body parts.
Oh yes,
of different saints.
It's a thing. It's for collectors. By the way, Pittsburgh was voted most affordable livable city in America.
I would agree with that. I would.
And Los Angeles is the fifth most expensive. Number one expensive city for the West Coast, Vancouver, BC. Vancouver, BC. Seattle's not even in the top 10. San Diego's more expensive than Seattle.
Who's doing this survey?
I think it was the Pope and the 400 comedians.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Vancouver, and I believe Vancouver is more expensive because the property values there have just skyrocketed, even more than they were They had skyrocketed back in 1999 when China was taking over Hong Kong, taking Hong Kong back, and all the Hong Kong people were coming over to Vancouver.
which turned out to be a good move.
Yeah, smart move for them.
Smart move for them.
Uh, but it probably didn't help out the people that were living in Vancouver to much degree because, I mean, okay, you sell your house for $1 million to some Chinese guy that comes over, but then what do?
You
Where do
play
you go?
you play cash cab.
You go out to Saskatchewan or something like that, or out to the prairie. I mean, what do you? So
You
yeah, you got
know,
$1 million in your pocket,
after
but
after you've done Vancouver, BC, you don't really want to move to Winnipeg.
there's only one place that I like that I could see my. If I lived in Vancouver, the only city I'd want to go to after living in Vancouver would be Montreal.
Why do you like Montreal so much?
It's a great city. Uh, Everybody's speaking French,
Oui,
and the
mon
food is
Dieu.
good. The culture is good. The city is good.
What about Toronto? No?
Toronto's very sterile. Toronto looks like downtown Minneapolis or downtown Kansas City or downtown Dallas. I mean, it just looks, it's one of those
That's
cities
not a
that look the
recommendation.
same as everything else.
That's not a good recommendation.
Yeah, no,
Not at all.
I'd rather live, I would rather live if I had to go there that way. I'd rather live in Quebec City. It's a smaller city, but
It's like being in Europe.
yeah, it's just got a different vibe to it. Toronto has a very sterile vibe to it. You know,
All I know about Canada, I'm learning from the Cash Cab show. So
well,
they either
you're
play in,
learning from a good source.
they either play in Toronto or they play in Vancouver, and the people are pretty hip.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, Vancouver is. I would say that Vancouver is the city that impressed me as the second most city that was second most similar to New York on the West Coast. First was San
Wow.
Francisco. There was just so many different parallels there, except the people were nicer,
Right.
obviously. But Vancouver has that very New York big city vibe to it.
It's a happening
It's
place.
dirty downtown. It's crowded. They got a transit system. You know, the people are always seem to be in a rush to get somewhere. But yet it's very international. There's a lot of different um, nationalities that have settled there. So there's neighborhoods,
A lot of neighborhoods, a lot of
a lot of
towns.
neighborhoods, and the
Cabbage Town.
neighborhoods are ethnically defined. Like they were in New York and like they were in San Francisco too. I mean, you had
Yeah. North Beach.
North Beach, and you had and in Vancouver you had what was once a Little Italy. You have a Chinatown that's very still very Chinese. Um, yeah, Vancouver. I mean, I love Vancouver. I've gone up there a million times, and always loved that. I love that whole strip between Vancouver and the border. It just has some really interesting places. One of the places I want to go that I can't believe I haven't been yet in all my time up here is Point Roberts,
Where's
which
that?
is which is in BC. Well, it is this one town that sits below. Is it the 49th parallel? That is the border. I forget which parallel it is, but it sits below. So it's actually an American town. It's in America, but you have to go through BC to get there.
And what a trip this world is. What a trip.
Yeah.
Maybe the Pope can have 400 Canadians sometime. See how that works. Invite them to the.
So what did the Pope say to the 400 comedians? What did he? What was his? Was there a message, or just did he want to have them over for belly laughs?
he said that they had a different way of looking at the world that was made things funny, made things lighter, made things more enjoyable. And he said, "Pray for me, not against me."
Well, yeah. Why
He
would?
didn't say who to pray to. You could be praying to Groucho Marx, maybe. He didn't say.
Well, I don't know. Was there any widespread Pope bashing going on?
Well, they get very sensitive, popes. They just every little thing seems to get to them because they have all day. All day you hear them.
I've never met one. I mean, I've seen one in person, but I've never met one.
I have neither met nor seen one,
Um,
but I know they're there somewhere.
yeah, I just don't get that there's a ton of
I
Pope
thought
bashing going
I
on.
thought Pius XII was frightening. Something about him. He seemed
There's a
very
few of them. The one before this one, the German one, he was
so
frightening.
he was a little severe.
He had some going on. I don't know what it was, but I wasn't.
Well, he had such an eventful life. He was in the Hitler Youth, and then he became a priest. So he got the best of both worlds. He was a joiner.
Benedict. Yeah, he was.
He was a
I mean, this
joiner.
guy seemed cool. This guy seemed like he's Argentinian, and he's kind of hanging out. And if you'll read any of his biographies or see any of his biographies, seemed like he was happening. He was a man of really a man of the people. He lived in poverty. He lived in the city of Buenos Aires. I mean, it seemed like he had at least a feeling of the real world. Um, I don't know. John Paul was the second was a statesman. He was probably the most active of the popes in my lifetime because he really seemed to want to make a difference in the world. I don't know.
When they buried them, why did they seal them up so deep? I hate to be harping on the death part, but when the Pope dies, they take him down into the basement. They put him under steel. They put him in a metal casket. They put him in the marble top, and then they seal it with cement, and then they put a guard there. It's like they're not going to let him out. There's no way you're getting out of here. You're dead now. We'll take it from here. You're not going
Yeah,
anywhere.
imagine if they did that to Jesus, there'd be no Easter Sunday.
It'd take him longer than 3 days to get out of that. I don't care who he is.
I mean, Harry freaking Houdini couldn't get out of that.
But why? Why bury them so completely deeply and time after time after time it gets more complicated?
The only thing that I could think of is why they would do something like that is I think there was a time in history where there were certain articles, certain things that if you possessed them, you possessed power. It wasn't about just the money, but it
So the
was
Pope's
about
the Pope's femur.
yeah. So so maybe and again I don't know this. I'm just speculating, and maybe if in the 1500s, if you stole the Pope's body, you ran the place. If you stole, or you could exact some kind of premium to get them the body back. Body snatching, body kidnapping, body napping. It just seems like the logical thing to me of why they would steal them up. So if you're going to steal this guy, you're going to.
It's going to take you a week to get in there.
Yeah, somebody's going to hear you. You're not just going to sneak in, stick him in a bag, and take him out again.
I'll give the body back if you. I want to open up. Always wanted to open a pasta shop in Rome, so we'll trade. You guys finance my restaurant. You can have the body back.
Well, that's kind of what the Hamas does today, isn't it?
I don't know what they're doing. Mostly they're just saying no. They sort of like it the way it is. Why should we stop the war? This is sort of. Kind of like it the way it is. Let's just keep going like we are. You keep trying to kill all of us, and we'll keep trying to. We'll go to the north when you say go to the north. We'll go to the south when you say go to the south. You'll kill us on the way, and we like the war the way it is. It's been a good war for us. Hamas loves it.
Well, actually, it has been a good war for them because they're in hiding.
Yeah, in Qatar.
They're probably, I mean, while they're killing some of them, they're probably not killing the numbers that they need to kill
They're not
or
killing the they're
eliminate.
not killing the they're not killing the guy who says no all the time.
And they're not right, and they're not killing that guy. They're killing civilians all over the place. And so, and Hamas doesn't seem to be an organization that gives a crap about how many people they lose.
I
You
think
know,
that's what Hamas means in Arabic. Don't give a crap.
not my girlfriend. You know, not my kids. Not my. You know, they're all stuck in a bunker somewhere. Um. So yeah, and then on top of it, you have a large amount of people in places like the United States who seem to be on their side, who seem to be saying that they're the good guys.
It's hard to pick the right side in this war. My advice is do not choose.
Well, there's good things and bad things about both sides. Well, there's nothing good about Hamas. I take that back. I don't see anything good about Hamas.
It's hard to find the bright side of the
Yeah,
terrorist organization.
you know, and I will still side with the Jewish people because they're fighting for their survival out there. They've been fighting for their survival since they opened the place up.
You mean the Middle East?
So, say again.
Since they opened the Middle East for business.
Well, since you know, back in Zippo BC.
And even before that, they were getting ready for we're going to have a place here. It's going to be unbelievable. When we open it, you'll see it'll be open 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
conflict on every border. Change the borders, change the leaders, everything, change anything you want. It's still the Middle East. When we open this thing,
5,000 years to get it.
It's a turnkey operation. You just turn on the lights and everybody goes to war. It's beautiful.
But, you know, so now you have a bunch of hypercharged Israelis that, I mean, I don't think they get up in the morning and say, let's wipe out the Palestinians.
You know what they said this morning when they woke up?
Collateral damage.
When they woke up this morning, they said, let's get bump stocks. Everybody get a bump stock.
Well, that's a ridiculous. That's a ridiculous thing, Michael. I mean, I don't know.
It's the way to go.
I mean, why don't you just complete the job? Have it, you know, buy a gun for everybody in the United States. Matter of fact, make it a law that you have to carry a gun.
Carry it. You can't just have it. You
can't just have it in the house. You got to carry it, and make it a law. If they find you without a gun,
they shoot you.
You could go to jail. And just go. That's it. Just give everybody a gun. Let's fight it out for yourselves.
At what age do you get your gun?
Well, it depends on where you live, I guess. Zip code, I guess, is how you figure it. You know, if you're in downtown LA, you might get it at 16.
I was thinking more like 8. Kids 8 years old with a gun. That makes sense.
Well, how many kids?
How many kids
out in the middle of the country get guns when they are 8 and 10 years old? Get their first gun. Certainly get a BB gun when you're, 6, 7, 8 years old.
So you can start abusing the farm animals within reach.
Well, yeah, that's the sad thing about it, is that
you got a BB gun, you got to shoot something.
Hopefully, dad or mom takes time to teach you the right way about the gun.
Don't shoot the dog without warning. If you give him warning, you can shoot the dog.
I mean, I remember my old man taught me, don't ever aim a gun at something you're not willing to kill. And I'm not much for killing things.
It's a concept that may not resonate with all 8-year-olds.
Yeah, no, true. No, I think listen, I think we see that, but that's the argument too that you'll get from many people whose houses are gun friendly, is that, well, if we teach them young, they'll have more of a sense of what the gun can do. I think there's too many. Personally, I think we've outgrown guns. I I mean, everything we say we want a gun for, everything that they say they want a gun for, they want to go out and hunt. Well, yeah, yeah, that's all well and good, but how many people go out and hunt and cut the meat up and keep it at home?
Well,
Relatively few.
if the moose takes exception about being hunted and they attack in a group, you need the bump stock to be able to fire enough to
Well,
defend off the moose.
the bump stock is a ridiculous thing. I don't even know. The Supreme Court, I guess, this morning said that the ban on bump stocks, which was
Was
put in place after that Las Vegas shooting, in which converts
was
a gun uh, virtually to an automatic weapon.
well,
Um,
according to the Supreme Court, it doesn't. It just
well,
converts it.
yeah, it's legal to have now. They made it illegal. You couldn't sell them, you couldn't buy them. Now they say that that violates um,
Bump stock law.
the constitutional right of somebody who wants to have a gun. Violates the Second Amendment. I don't understand why the Second Amendment always trumps every other amendment.
It was the biggest of all the amendments. It was
Isn't the
huge and
biggest?
simple.
Isn't the whole purpose of the whole piece of paper life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness?
But it's hard to pursue happiness at top speed without a bump stock.
Well, it's hard to pursue it. I just think it's hard to pursue it when you have a couple of bullets in you. It makes it extremely hard to pursue it.
Yeah, it's prior to the bullets. That's where you're really moving. You are pursuing happiness then.
And especially if the shooter is enabled to pump 5 or 6 or 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 or 30 bullets into you.
That's the beauty of the bump stock. It's a time saving device. It gives people the freedom to go back to their sandwich or their work or teaching
Well, I don't
or
think you go back
law
to a sandwich
enforcement.
after you get shot 15 times. I may be wrong,
No,
but
the shootee, that's the shootee. I'm talking about the shooter. The
the
pursuer
shooter,
is,
yeah, goes back. Well, yeah,
the
I
shooter is
mean,
pursuing happiness at top
they're up
speed.
there ordering dominoes while they're shooting out of the window of the hotel.
The bump stock makes it easier to multitask. Good point.
It's it's something that we kind of talk about tongue in cheek only because it's so ridiculous. The whole gun thing is so ridiculous. The whole power that people who are gun owners in this country have over the country.
And it's interesting that the Supreme Court would look at the gun violence and the murders and the level of violence that we've suffered in this country in the last 10 years and say, what we need is an easier way to use an automatic weapon. These automatic weapons are cumbersome, they're unconstitutional, they get in the way of our pursuit of happiness, they slow down the murder rate, which is something that we can help them with. Plus, it stimulates the economy. You can't just get a bump stock, you have to buy a bump stock. It's good for America.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. It just doesn't. And again, I mean,
Actually, that's all it is, Vinny. It's all right.
well,
It's far right. It's hard right.
it's. I just still don't understand again why you need a gun that shoots more than 1 or 2 bullets. I mean, a 6 shooter should be all you need, right?
There's that pesky business of reloading every 6 shots.
Well,
It puts a burden on the citizen that stops their pursuit of happiness when they have to
after the
reload.
first shot, shouldn't you be taken off?
Those are professional workers. We're talking about these are more the curious and the uninitiated
Well,
want a good gun too. And
it.
if a bump stock makes it easier for them to get into the gun culture, then that's what they want.
Well, I think it's ridiculous, but
Well, you're
there's just
right.
nothing you can. There's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, I have been. This is how many years that I have been doing this, and have been anti-gun the whole time. I think if I had one wish in the world, it would be to take all the guns away, render them all inoperatives. You can just hang them up on your wall. Um, but that's not going to happen. We don't have our politicians don't have the appetite to ever do anything like that. Um, the gun lobby is too strong. So we're going to live in a country where when you go into the store at 10 o'clock at night, you're looking at everybody and you're suspicious and you don't trust everybody. And you're worried that somebody's going to come through that door and start shooting. We have people that live in this country that when they go into a public building, plot and chart out how they're going to get out so quickly if something starts happening. We go to a concert, we walk through metal detectors now. And we'll eventually walk through metal detectors
everywhere.
Everywhere. You won't go anywhere without a metal detector. That's the business you'll want to be in. And I don't see it changing in my lifetime, in your lifetime, in my kids' lifetime.
No, we're living in the age of Samuel Alito right now, and Samuel Alito is not a logical, well put together man.
Well, but he's not the only one.
There
We're
are
living in an
pieces.
age where money buys.
There are pieces missing of the Supreme Court. They all look like they're put together, but they lack judgment, sense, soul, compassion. There's all those pieces are missing, and it's frightening to think of that. But and they'll look at a bump stock gun and say, well, it can only shoot one at a time, as near as I can tell. No, no, no. The bump stock makes it so you can shoot automatic. Well, like I said, one at a time. No, you're wrong about that. It's an automatic weapon. Well, it looks like it can only shoot one at a time. I'm going with that. Next case. That's the
Yeah,
world of Samuel Alito.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what you can do about it. I'm at a loss.
You can invite 400 comedians to the Vatican City and see if that lightens the load. But right now, it seems like Samuel Alito trumps 400 comedians. In fact, it's like a scale. One Samuel Alito, 400 comedians over here with the Pope in the middle, and you still Alito's got the game in his pocket.
Yeah, I feel sorry for people that have lost people in shootings. Um, I feel extremely bad for people um, who just have been injured, have been hurt, both physically and mentally by people with guns. And I feel bad for people that have this certain helplessness, like myself, that feels like you can't do anything to change it, no matter who you elect, no matter who you put your faith in this government. The money that's being spread around by the NRA and people like that is much too powerful.
Do you think that the influential businessmen and GOP donors took Alito someplace where he could bump stock fish? It's going to be we're not
I
going
don't.
fishing. We're going for fish, but you do shoot him. You shoot him in a barrel. What could be easier?
Well,
It could be easier with a bump stock. Good point, Samuel. Good point.
well, Michael, I think it's sad. I mean, I know that you're trying to make light of it and everything, but I just think it's like, there's people that have spent years and years and years to try to make this a safer place to live, and have gone from banning all guns to okay, keep your guns, to okay, you can have this gun and that gun. But when we try to come up with some kind of common sense gun laws that people that own guns should be for,
Not going to happen, is it?
I mean, what is it about that gun? I mean, I've owned a gun in the past. It never gave me a feeling of. It actually gave me a feeling of holy crap. I hope I don't have to use this thing. I hope I don't stick it in my pants and blow my dick off.
That's that's something to be avoided. You're right.
Yeah, I mean, so to me, it's more of a, if you left. I mean, it's something that you had to account for in your mind every moment that you had it. If you're responsible, you you didn't want to leave it anywhere. You didn't want to just leave it in your car. You couldn't go a lot of places with it. So I mean, what was the sense? The only time that it gave us any kind of security is if you were going somewhere, walking down the street late at night. When I was in New York, and then it comes out of and then it comes down to, you're going to pull the thing out and use it if you gotta, or is somebody going to kick the crap out of you and take it from you and shoot you with it?
That could happen.
So, and there's people who spent so much time and sweat and mind power on trying to not just ban guns, but come up with a solution that works for people. Come up with something that'll make people feel safer. Come up with something that will allow you to send your kid to school and not be struck with the thought of, am I going to be watching TV, or am I going to get a phone call, or is there going to be a text message saying, "Mommy, somebody's shooting in the hallway"?
And
And
what would you say if I told you maybe up to half of the people, including all the Republicans, don't care about you or your children or the danger it possesses?
I'd say, you ain't telling me nothing I don't know.
They don't care about your kids. They don't care if they die in school or any other place. They don't care about whether they die with a bump stock or without a bump stock. They don't
No,
care
it's
about the
obvious
comedians
that they
going to
don't.
the
I don't know how many
Vatican.
Democrats do, to be honest with you. It's the people that run this country don't care. They
Acceptable
look like they
losses.
care when something happens. They wear the ribbons and they stand up there and they give you the thoughts and the prayers and the this and the that. And my heart goes out to this family, and we got to do something. We got to do something.
Meet me in Uvalde, Texas. Meet me there.
And well, that's even a worse case, because the people who are entrusted to to
To use
save the kids,
didn't want to use their guns. That was their opportunity
right?
to do what they always wanted to
all,
do, was
all of their
shooting.
bump stocks and all of their automatic weapons and they crapped in their pants in the hallway. It must have smelled like a lot of shit in that hallway
Well,
that day,
nothing but shit.
because everybody was shitting their pants and nobody had the nerve to go in there and say, "I'm going to save these kids."
All those guns and not a shot was fired except by the shooter himself.
Unreal. So we've proven that in many cases, uh, people with guns aren't going to stop the shooting. Yeah, in some cases, somebody has a gun and they shoot the guy, or they do something, and yeah. So every once in a while, it works that way.
1 out of 20.
But in the majority of cases, it doesn't. And yeah, you could say that it's a mental health epidemic, and we have this the sickness that goes on in this country, and I don't doubt we do, which is all the more reason why we shouldn't be selling anybody any guns right now.
We've taken a look, and you guys are so sick. The one thing you should not have is a gun.
So here, go buy one.
There's
Even
bump
to the
stock
point
sales
of
going
saying,
on.
we're not going to sell anybody any guns until we figure this out. Until we draw on the smartest people we have in this country and come up with a solution of some kind as to how we fix this. But the people that own guns don't want a lock. There's technology on gun that you could use on guns to fingerprint it. Good God, I can't start some of the cars that I get without my fingerprint.
Well, the technology exists.
So you mean to tell me you couldn't put that technology on a gun?
It changes the price. People don't want more expensive guns. They want cheaper guns and they want a bump stock.
I don't know. Like I say, I don't hold out a lot of faith that we're ever going to change it. And I think that when one of the most popular items on Amazon is a bulletproof vest for your kid so they can go to school. It says something about this country and the world we live in. It's and unfortunately, I don't see it straightening out. I don't think that Biden's going to straighten it out. I certainly don't think Trump is going to straighten it out. And I don't know that there's anybody in this future generation of people that are going to come up that are going to straighten it out. If this country didn't do anything after Sandy Hook, Michael.
This country didn't do anything after January 6th.
Yeah. Oh no, they welcomed the arsonist back. I heard somebody this morning compare Trump to an arsonist. The arsonist always has to come back and see his fire.
Got to see it. It's not real until I see it.
He's got to come back and see the damage they caused. Well, yesterday Trump returned to the scene of the crime.
And got a birthday cake.
What an absolutely horrid day for this country yesterday.
And even more horrible for Milwaukee than it was for me here in LA. Poor Milwaukee had to pretend that they still love the Republicans who hate them, who think they're a terrible city, who officially see nothing wrong with Donald Trump saying, what a terrible place we are going. Who's gonna say, hey, this is a beautiful city, we love Milwaukee, this is our home. Fuck you. Why don't you take your business somewhere else? Go to Schenectady if you like it so much. In fact, I recommend anybody today who's upset with their life, go to Schenectady, check it out.
Well, Milwaukee is kind of an interesting place, Michael.
Well, they have the Brewers, which mean probably almost as much as to me as the Kansas City Royals.
I remember on one of my trips to Milwaukee.
I've never been.
Oh, it's a grand city. On one of my trips to Milwaukee, I was standing in a restaurant. I walked into a restaurant and I'm looking at the floor and the decor in the restaurant, and it's tile on the floor and tile like up, part of the way up the
wall.
Wall, thank you.
And then the ceiling is just all sausages.
Well, you'd think, but I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at it for a minute. I'm saying something not right here, and the whole wall is Nazi emblems.
Oh dear!
And the tile in the floor, and it's like nobody sees anything wrong with that. It seems to be now. I think it's become more of a liberal place, but
wouldn't be the best place to sell sausages in L.A. in the swastika store. You'd have to pick another angle. You'd have to go for another look to be successful. In
well, yeah. The Usinger sausages that they make there are good, and it's the only. I mean, they make them in the shape of a football, so you can always mail order them. And the food is good, especially if you like German food. But it's a tough town. But it seems to me that that's the kind of town that somebody like Trump would love. Now, if you get down to Madison, That's a whole different story. That's a very liberal place.
University town.
Yeah, but if
Go
you
Badgers.
well, Milwaukee is too, but there's other things that eclipse the university. Whereas in
Sauce.
Madison, it's all about the university. Um, it's just it's a really there were things I loved about Milwaukee and things that I hated about Milwaukee.
Can you find a place to get veal and potatoes?
Yeah, you find a place to get. Yeah, there's food. There's a lot of food in Milwaukee, man. A lot of good food. A lot of good food and great ice cream. There's a
And
place called
probably
Coors,
a
Kohrs, I think it is.
number of places to get beer, I would think.
Oh yeah, yeah. The number of abandoned breweries that are there, or buildings that used to be breweries, is phenomenal. I mean, it seems like every beer was made in Milwaukee. Yeah, Schlitz, Miller. Uh,
Schlitz made it famous, right? The beer that made
yeah,
Milwaukee
yeah,
famous.
Schlitz. Yes, yeah. Their logo, their sign, their saying was the beer that made Milwaukee famous. And then Miller was the champagne of bottled beers. But they
Right.
were, I mean, it's like you go into town and there's just all these old buildings that have just used to be breweries and now in some places are condos.
Does everybody go for the swastika look, or is that just one or two restaurants?
No, but I think I think there's a number of people there that that do go for it.
One thing I learned about Badgers, which is the team mascot for the University of Wisconsin, and that is you should not pick up a badger if you encounter one. Don't pick it up.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, I've never encountered one, but I've heard
You're
that.
you're probably look at it and say it's cute. I'd like to give it a cuddle, maybe hold it in my arms and rub its stomach. Try not to do that. Don't pick up the badger.
Yeah, they got claws.
And they have an attitude that goes with it. They don't like being picked up, and you find some people find out too late. They've had a beer, they've had a sausage, they've had a couple more beers, and then they had a sausage. They see a badger, and the first thing they do is they pick it up. Mistake, terrible error.
Yeah, it's
Same
yeah.
goes
I would.
for wolverines. If you encounter a wolverine talking with a badger, do not engage.
So let me ask you a question. Do you have an extra room in your place?
No.
Okay, because somewhere we're going to have to find a place for Alex Jones to stay.
If I had two extra rooms, they would still not be available for Alex Jones.
Um, because a federal judge has ordered that
For
the
sale.
judgment he
Everything's
got
for sale. Everything's got to go.
against him. Yeah, that there are whatever he has his own stuff. Now this is not his company, Infowars, but his personal whatever he has
Personal
is got to
holdings.
be liquidated. Is got to be divvied up among the survivors of the parents or the survivors of the Sandy Hook situation.
And he owes him more than $1 billion, doesn't he?
It's 1.5 billion. So I don't know that he has. I don't know if this guy's had enough time to switch his money or move his money or do whatever he does. I don't
Whatever he
know
tried
how
that.
in the world, what happens to him after this. One can only hope that he suffers a pain equal to the pain he bestowed on those poor people.
He could do my old talk show on Monachi, I'll bet. He could do that.
Well, that's probably what he's going to wind up doing, Michael. I mean, he's probably going to wind up, going somewhere. I mean, somebody, WABC in New York will hire
Yeah,
him.
he can have Rudy's spot.
Um, your old place in Wenatchee, I don't think they could. I don't think they could pay him enough money to I don't know to get his to satisfy his drug habits.
Probably not. I'm sorry to say.
Even if he gets on Medicaid, I still don't think there would be enough.
They don't cover opiates that well.
Well, I don't know. These opiates. I think he might be like a Ritalin guy or something like that. Or what's that stuff that makes you speed up? Was that Ritalin? I don't know. But the stuff that makes you speed up all the time.
Well, there's a number of speeders, from what I understand.
Same thing that Hitler took.
It was never my bag. Methamphetamine.
Or there's a matter of fact, there's a drug. We talked about this weeks ago. I got to see if I can find it now. But there's a drug that they say that the Hamas uses that makes the Captagon.
What does that do? Keeps you up at night a little bit.
It charges you up. It's like speed. It's tramadol and Captagon, and they're both drugs that get you, wired up.
Well, tramadol's an opiate,
and as far as I know, Captagon could be too. Although I don't know that an opiate would speed you up. It seems to me that an opiate would,
take the edge off.
But this stuff is some kind of speed drug, I guess.
Hamas is addicted to a off-brand speed and painkiller combo.
Right, and what it does is it gets them more aggressive. I mean, if you ever known anybody that did a lot of speed, they tend to be a little bit more aggressive, quick on the trigger finger.
Who makes Captagon? Somebody's marketing it as the war drug. Coming in second place in wartime, take Captagon. Finish first.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's a. I don't know who makes it. It doesn't say in this article that I just pulled up.
I wonder if it's too late for the Dallas Mavericks to take Captagon. They need something.
It's widely used across the Middle East, highly addictive synthetic stimulant that the Assad regime in Syria creates and distributes across the region.
Wow.
It was first created in the 1960s in West Germany to help treat conditions such as ADD, depression, and narcolepsy.
I'm still walking at night, but I'm happier about it.
The drug was later banned in the 1980s, which led to the illegal production of it across the Middle East.
Wow, I never heard of it. That's fascinating.
Yeah, we had talked about maybe a year ago, or right after. No, it wasn't a year ago. It was right after the attacks. I remember reading about somewhere about this Captagon
on October 7th. Those attacks.
Yeah, and we and we had spoken about it, a couple of days afterwards, and because it was, this person who wrote this article, I think, surmised that these people who did these attacks were because they were so brutal and so horrible that these people were all on Captagon, and I guess they did some kind of investigation.
Good morning, sir. I'm here for my Captagon. No Captagon for you guys until you do your atrocities across the border. You want your Captagon, you know what you got to do, and I want film and I want proof.
It's and then if you go back in history, I mean, Hitler was doing all this kind of stuff.
Oh yes.
I mean, he was the number one junkie in Germany, man. I mean, this guy was
actually number one was Hermann Goering.
Yeah, I don't know, Michael. I mean, I guess they had a healthy competition, or an unhealthy competition, for that matter. But it seems that I forget the doctor's name now, but a pudgy little guy was handing out these drugs like they were candy.
To him, they were candy.
He was, and Hitler was taking them, and you know, I mean, there's a theory that because he was taking them, he lost the war because he got so whacked out. And there's another theory that says that he started the war because he was taking them. So who knows?
The moral of the story is not who started it and who continued it. Is how did that war end? What was the bright side of that for Germany?
Well, it didn't end well for Germany.
Did not end well for the doctor.
I mean,
who
it didn't end well for us either. I mean, how many people did we lose in that war?
We lost a lot.
Yeah. So and young men mostly, and yeah, and how many young men from both sides were lost? How many young men in England were lost? From
And in England, they had no Captagon. No Captagon for you.
No, I don't know if there was Captagon in those days, but
that's for officers.
So anyway, and yes, you were mentioning the Boston Celtics before, or the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah, they're putting a beat on them.
I love the playoffs. I just love them. But this year, for some reason, either I'm not into it or the games just aren't as compelling, and there's no edge of your seat game going on. The Mavericks are just getting thrashed, and I think Boston today at 5:00 will finish it.
Yeah, they seem to be. They seem to be a team that, geez. I mean, it just looks so good, man.
And is Jason Kidd depressed? Is that what's wrong with Jason Kidd? Did you talk to him after
Well, he always seemed to be a little depressed.
But he seems to be seriously clinically depressed. I don't know how he gets up gets up for game time.
Well, he always seemed to be. I mean, back when he played for Cal, he seemed to be.
I saw him play for Cal.
Yeah, he seemed to be depressed back then. And I don't particularly remember a time when he was like a happy dude, to be honest with you. I mean, I haven't followed him around, but he didn't seem to be happy when he was in Brooklyn. And you know what they say, if you're not happy in Brooklyn, where the hell are you going to be happy?
You're not trying, that's all. If you're not happy in Brooklyn, you're going to wind up in Dallas. You think you're going to be happy there?
He's 2 blocks away from the Junior's Cheesecake store. How the hell could you not be happy? I mean, if things suck, you walk down the block, you get yourself a cup of coffee and a piece of strawberry swirl cheesecake.
You make a very good case right there. Go no further.
And life gets better.
Boy, if you go to the Vatican, they don't sell the cheesecake. You can't get coffee, and everybody's buried in their vestments.
Yeah, but you can get a Pope in her.
I suppose you can, or at least is that something that opens a bottle of beer?
Yeah,
shaped like a Pope.
Pope's picture on it. The Pope's. Well, I think I showed you a picture of it a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about
gifts. The gift stores in the Vatican City are not to be missed.
No! I hope that all of these comedians went to the gift stores.
I know you want to go to the Basilica and see the whole thing, but
I want to go to the gift store. No trip is complete without a trip to the gift store. My daughter and I will vouch for that. You can't go anywhere without going to a gift store. That goes for Graceland. It goes for Loretta Lynn's restaurant. They had one of the better gift stores I've ever seen. It goes for the Grand Cat. Wherever you go, you got to go to the gift store.
Trying to think who did not have a gift store who should have. The bass player who died. Oh God, I can't think of it. He killed his girlfriend. Lived in the Chelsea Hotel.
Sid Vicious.
Thank you. Thank you. Sid Vicious should have a gift store.
I think he does. Except that they've moved the gift stores for most of these places. You used to have to actually go to the place.
Now you can now online.
Now you can
Sid
just
Vicious.
go online and order stuff. They'll gladly ship you whatever it is in their gift store for a fee. Um, I where, what was the gift store that I was looking at? Oh, I was looking at the gift store for the tow truck museum in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and their gift store is online. The Nixon Library gift store. I mean, there's a gazillion gift stores online, and usually they have some pretty interesting stuff.
Can you get a Sid Vicious bottle opener? A Vicious
Used to go
opener?
to. I used to love to go to the Stuckey's gift store because they had that old time gift store where you see all the stuff that you've seen everywhere else, except it was engraved with whatever town that
Stucky.
Stuckey's was
Yeah.
in. That
Chattanooga.
the pegboard game or the big pencil or the Constitution in the envelope, printed on parchment paper,
The Stucky's bump stock.
the Stuckey's bump stock. Before there was a Love's, there was Stuckey's, America's bathroom. You could get yourself
That's a busy place,
a
America's
wash and
bathroom.
a pecan roll.
Are they known for their cheesecake?
No, Stuckey's was known for their pecan shakes, I believe.
Well, that's a nice market.
They had pecan milkshakes, from what I remember. And one thing you do learn early on when you travel, if you're smart and you were in the 70s or the 60s,
Do you
is
stop and watch Tuck now or don't stop and watch Tuck now?
don't drink a milkshake on a hot day when you have a car with no air conditioning.
Okay. Don't do that.
It just doesn't sit well.
To put it mildly.
Yeah, no, it starts to bump, all the bump around and everything. No.
To put it in Vatican terms, you don't eat this and go to the basilica. What are you doing the rest of the day? We're going to the basilica. Don't eat that.
Yeah, not if you're eating this.
Don't eat that. Don't eat that now.
Go to the basilica before. See, I thought it was just Colbert that got invited. I didn't know about the 400 comics. I missed that somehow. And I
Colbert, Whoopi Goldberg,
400. It must have been all of them.
totally. There were no comedians left. There were no stand up all over America was wide open. Anybody could get a spot.
I mean, did they invite the Jewish ones too? Like, did Albert Brooks and Rob Reiner get to go?
Should have. I saw
Joe
Albert Brooks in
Piscopo?
Broadcast News was on the other night, and I saw Albert Brooks. He was such a whiny little shit in that movie. He whined all the way through it. He whined totally. He complained about everything. He hated everybody,
Yeah, and we all knew like 10 people like him.
just like him. Flop
Just
sweat.
he played that part, man. He played that part
You
perfectly.
give him a break, and he drips into flop sweat. And
I
someone
just
said,
watched
is flop sweat a thing? Is there really a thing called flop sweat? Oh yeah, there is.
yeah. I just watched a documentary over the last weekend about Mel Brooks, which was actually one of the stranger documentaries ever. I think it's on Netflix, and it might have been one of the stranger documentaries that I've ever seen.
Odd
It
point of
was
view.
well, they interspersed clips in it of when he was younger and then when he was older, and I guess he must have had these secret meetings, or not secret meetings, but meetings that he taped, and it was somewhat confusing, but he was somewhat funny.
Yeah.
I mean, he writes funnier than he is what you got from the documentary. He's a funny guy to begin with, but his writing, I mean, is just from from the producers on through some great old film of the producers, stuff that I don't know was in any in the movie. It was
Outtakes.
just outtakes and stuff like that. Was really good. Um, so if you get a chance to watch that, if you're a Mel Brooks fan, that's something you want to see. I'm going to watch the Stacks thing this weekend.
I walked around the block with Mel Brooks once.
Did you?
When I lived in New York, I used to hang out at a place called Boss Tweez on West 70th Street, West 72nd Street. It was a walk down restaurant. You walk down into the bar and restaurant. And the
Yeah,
guy
kind
who
of like
ran the
Barney
place,
Googles. Yeah.
the guy who owned it was Steve Rosenzweig, and we called him Rosie. And he was a friend of Mel Brooks. And Rosie said, "Walk around the block with me. We'll smoke a joint." I said, Yes, we will. We'll do that." And as we're going out, Mel Brooks is coming in, and Rosie said, "Walk around the block with us. We'll smoke a joint." And Mel said, "I'll walk with you, but I don't want any." So I smoked a joint with Mel Brooks, but he did not partake in
But
that.
he did not
And
take part.
he was under no pressure to be funny, so he was just a guy.
Yeah, it's amazing how I always I always been a big fan of his. I think well, obviously Blazing Saddles was, was I mean, you could never make that movie today, but
Springtime for Hitler, I loved.
yeah, Producers was great. One of his best movies, and one that he didn't get a lot of credit for as being a good movie, was Silent Movie.
That I didn't see.
That is a great movie. That is it's one of my favorites. I haven't watched it in a while. I'll have to probably.
And I
Uh,
caution you because this cannot be said too often. De Fuhrer says no babies.
Don't be stupid. Be a schmuck. You come and join the
Join the
Nazi
Nazi
party.
party. I was born in Dusseldorf, and that is why they call me Rolf. Don't be stupid. Be a schmarty. Come and join the Nazi party.
If we ever get another show, I think we ought to call ourselves Bialy and Bagel Stock.
Bialystocky Bloom.
Oh my God! All right. Well, we got a weekend of what are we doing this weekend? Oh yeah, we're doing a show tomorrow at 11.
What are you
Um,
driving?
I'm driving a Subaru Ascent,
Oh, yeah, okay. We talked
which
about
is
this.
the Bigley Subaru. Bigley. We're back after a few weeks in electric cars. We're back in a gasoline powered car. I have to. I got. I mean, I'm going to do the review on it tomorrow, but I got to tell you, man, that Fiat was a fun little car to drive. I mean, if I didn't have to take a trip out of the city, if I
Right.
was retired and my only trips were like to the doctor and to the wherever the senior center and all of those places, that's the car I would drive.
That's a good endorsement.
I'll tell you how good of a headspace it put me in to drive that car. I lost my sunglasses.
Well, you fool.
Don't know where I put them. I had the same pair for years, and all of a sudden, just disappeared. And there's a certain kind of sunglass that I like to wear. It's round. It's almost
Hmm.
the John Lennon sunglasses.
Right.
Take
Prescription.
off on those. So I went to the sunglass store, and I'm driving. It's a sunny day, and I'm driving the Fiat. And so I go up to the outlets, and I go to the sunglass store, and I'm looking for a pair of sunglasses that are like, like the old ones. So why
Right.
change? And I'm feeling so stylish and so hip
You pop for the Maui gyms.
that I go and I say to myself, you know what? It's time for a change. So this is what I walked out of the store with. You tell me what you think.
I like them. I can't wait. Who do you look like in those glasses? You look like somebody. Who
I
the
don't
hell
know.
do you look like?
So I thought I went with these. I said, you know what? Just because you're 68 years old doesn't mean you can't have style.
And do you like them?
Yeah, I actually do like them. They're actually, they're comfortable. You know, They definitely look. I definitely have gotten a couple of looks with them, but that's okay. That's why I got them.
Exactly. Well,
I,
let this be a weekend of change. Good.
yeah. So so the car, the Fiat, made me feel hipper than I was, hipper than I am.
Hipper
It,
than
it,
the room.
and when a car makes you feel like that, it has
Go.
value.
You got to go with it.
There's something, that's worth something. When a car can psychologically do that to you,
Be sure to mention that line in your review. When a car makes you hip, it's worth something. There's value to that. That's
yeah.
right.
Oh
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah. I mean, it had the car, and maybe I'm unique in this. I don't know, but I got to think there's other people that get the same charge out of it. It just makes you feel hip. It makes you
Tell
feel kind of
tell
cool.
people to go test drive it and get the charge out of it, and let me know.
Yeah.
Did you get a charge or did you not?
My kid loved it. She got a kick out of it. Remember, she said, "Gee, if I was going to get a car, I'd look at this car."
There you go.
And again, because she doesn't need a car that, you know, 99% of her trips are, to the park and back or to here and
Right.
to there, So
You
for
don't
her,
you don't need a Rolls Royce for that.
right. Now, the only drawback is she lives in an apartment, so it's tough for charging. But for a second car or, it's a great car. I can't, it's one of the psychologically best cars. It gets the psychological car of the year award so far.
Oh, good award. I like that.
We're going to institute that. This the psychological car of the year. What car made you feel good?
There you go.
And right now, this is at the top of the list. What do you got planned for this weekend? Anything?
Oh, laundry.
That's what I got in the Subaru Ascent. As soon as I finish up here, I'm going down to the laundry and loading up the machines. I haven't done my laundry in a while, so I got a stinky ass bunch of stuff in the back of the car.
Well, stinky ass be gone.
See you on
And,
Monday if
and,
the
and,
Lord's
and
will, the
I've
creek don't rise.
I've thought about it through the whole show. I do not want to be buried in my vestments. Please, I want you to see to that.
I will. You've now made note of that. I'm going to mark this, and so that when you go, we'll be able to draw this up, and I'll be able to prove that you don't want to be.
Buried in my vestments.
If they want to bury me in a Mets uniform, I'd be okay.
That's different.
Yeah, that's it. That's a different thing. All right, man. See you on Monday if the Lord's will. The creek don't rise,
All
Mikey.
right,
Peace,
Vinny. Have
love,
fun.
and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine.
Thank
See
you
ya.
all for listening. We appreciate it.
We do.
Bye bye now.